Hello, Cameroonians. Hello, everyone. Wherever you're watching us from, welcome. This is Road to A to D because we are still on that road. Tonight we have breaking news. Barrister Alice Nkom, Cameroon's renowned human rights lawyer. He is a reputable legal mind in the country, has been appointed spokesperson for the president-elect's government, Issa Tchiroma government. And we have just also seen her reaction on her social media platform, accepting that appointment from the president-elect's government, Issa Tchiroma. We are coming tonight to have that discussion with a Cameroonian who's having the country at heart, has been, reacting a lot on happenings in different parts of the country, the socio-political atmosphere in Cameroon. And this is something that we didn't want the night, to pass by without us having this conversation tonight. And we're having Ben Akih, who is here with us to have this conversation. Ben Akih, I always want that when our guests come here, they should again introduce themselves. Of course, many people know you, but again, who are you? And yes, welcome.
Thank you very much, Mimi, for this invitation. And I'm very glad with the news of our sister, our big sister and our mom, Alice Nkom, joining the team of the president-elect, Mr. Issa Tchiroma. As you all know, my name is Benjamin Akih. I am from the northwest region of Cameroon. My day job is as a professor of engineering here at Syracuse University, but with respect to the politics of Cameroon, I'm a federalist activist. I run the page English Cameroon for United Cameroon. I'm the Secretary General of the Coalition of Cameroon Federalist Groups and Activists, CCFGA, which is fighting for federalism. Very recently, we also put together a council called the Council for the Sovereignty of Cameroon. This is bringing together all the Cameroonians in the diaspora on this very serious emergency that we have now in Cameroon. And that emergency is that our country is taken hostage, our sovereignty is taken hostage by a group of people, and we all need to join our effort to kick them out.
It's interesting to know such a huge portfolio. You've been working for so many years to put our country together to make Cameroon a better place for Cameroonians as a whole, and for not just yourself, but for Cameroonians in general. And thank you for the fantastic job that you are doing. Let's stick to this appointment of Barrister Alice Nkom today, which is making headlines across Cameroon at the moment. Can you tell us what this actually signifies politically, and also what it symbolizes politically in Cameroon at the moment?
I think it signifies, first of all, that Mr. Tchiroma has strategically moved his project from campaigning for president. That's now over. He has won. Every Cameroonian knows that he has won. The campaign is over. He had a campaign manager, campaign spokesperson. That was a different job. Now it's the job of getting the keys to go to it today. And this is pretty much Alice Nkom is the spokesperson for the transition team. For the transition, saying, this is what we are doing. If Mr. Biya were to invite Mr. Tchiroma to come and get the keys and surrender what he is trying to steal from the people, Barrister Nkom's job would be very brief in that role as the spokesperson for the transition team of Mr. Issa Tchiroma. But we have a situation where Mr. Biya is pointing a gun at Elecam and Constitutional Council, telling them, I know the results. I know Tchiroma has won. But please, under no circumstances should you pronounce that name. Only call my name and swear me in. So that's a hostage-taking situation. Therefore, the role of Barrister Alice Nkom is now not just a transition, but it's transition and also resistance movement. It's a resistance movement which is going to help the people take what rightfully belongs to their people. And there's no better person than a fighter like Alice Nkom who can take that job. She's not afraid of these people. She is not also very far away from Mr. Biya. She has seen Biya as an ordinary citizen before he became the president of Cameroon. And this is the first woman to become a lawyer in Cameroon. She has a breadth of experience. She is from the class of Barrister Yondo Black. So she knows that what Cameroonians want is to be allowed to govern themselves. This is a long fight. She has been part of it. And now she is part of a transition team which is facing a hindrance on
Mm-hmm.
path to Itudi, making it a resistance movement. And you just need to listen to her even before she was nominated. She
Right.
was fire for fire. Uh,
Yes, I
and what she
interviewed her
says,
on here, and she was not,
and
letting
what she says,
anyone intimidate her or to say anything other than what the people stands for and believes in. But does
and
this
her language
actually?
is very
Mhm.
clear. Her language is clear. Her language is the language the person on the street in Douala, in Bamenda, in Kuseri, and all around the country they can resonate with. She doesn't find politically correct language to give you. She wants the information. And I think if you're looking for somebody who speaks like the president-elect, Alice Nkom is that person.
That's right.
They don't waste your time. They give you the
Mhm.
information.
So let's look at whether this actually solidifies Issa Tchiroma Bakari as the legitimate president in the eyes of the people. What this appointment means.
Well, everybody knows that he's the legitimately elected president of Cameroon. And everybody knows that they are trying to steal his victory. The question is, remember, when they were running for election, the question that the people were asking is, we know Biya is going to try to steal the election. Will you fight for us? That was the question. So the choice of Alice Nkom as the spokesperson is a clear statement from Chiroma that I've been observing, I've been studying the people we are up against, and the fight is on. And I'm getting the people who can fight to join me in this fight. And Alice Nkom is the choice. He is from the north, Alice is from Douala, and me, I consider Douala to be the center of Cameroon liberation, right?
Mhm.
So she is bringing with her that kind of authenticity that adds to what Mr. Chiroma is doing. So I think first is that Cameroonians are ahead of Mr. Chiroma. They don't want beer. They don't want beer. They want beer to have left yesterday. So any extra day Cameroonians see him stay at it today, they are frustrated by that. But Mr. Chiroma is trying to be more diplomatic in understanding how best to lead the strategy of the resistance so that there is no chance of losing. And I think that is communicating that things are on track to get to a point where the regime, because I think what has happened now is that the regime has first of all pointed a gun at Elecam to announce that they are the winner, pointed a
Mhm.
gun at Constitutional Council not to entertain any complaints about irregularities, to say they are not permissible, that they don't
Mhm.
have jurisdiction. The Constitution asked the Constitutional Council to make sure the Constitution is respected. Here, they're pointing out mistakes about the election, and the Constitutional Council said we don't have jurisdiction. It's just a way to say that each time the Constitutional Council listens to argument, he said, I agree with everything you have said. Everything you've said is right. But the problem is that I don't want to say you're right. I'm going to say I don't have power to say you're right or wrong. So that is the stage at which we are now. That it's a resistance, and the people see that they're interpreting in terms of somebody's fighting, somebody's getting a team of fighters, and these people are going to take the battle to the regime. That's a positive line of reasoning that I think we should see that.
Mhm. This is a yes, a woman in Cameroon, a lawyer, a reputable lawyer. She's come out to denounce a lot of, the irregularities, the political mishappenings in Cameroon. She's denounced human rights abuses, a lot of things that are not going right in the country. And she's challenged the government on several occasions to say, you are given the mandate by us and you don't have any power, especially Minister Paul Atanganji, who threatens people here and there that they will be arrested, they will be tried, and this is going to happen. And even when people are killed, it's like it's nothing really happened. So she is one of those people that she's been coming out to criticize, to condemn, and speak very boldly against some of the things that are happening. And she is fearless. She is in Cameroon. But I wanted to find out, how does this development challenge the authority of Biya, the Biya government?
I think now some people accuse me of bringing too much religion into politics, but when you look carefully, all of politics is religious. All of politics is religious. And I'm glad to say that I share with Alice Nkom a Protestant worldview. And I think she's from the Église Evangelique Cameroon. At least that's where she grew up. The same thing can be said of Professor Abao. I think his name, Jean Calvin, is very Protestant. So we believe that authority only has power if that authority is moral and just. That is the worldview of that's the worldview of a Protestant, and I think she articulates that very clearly. We don't fear authority, especially when that authority is against the law, is unjust, is oppressing people, is doing things that are clearly against even the Constitution. Your authority only comes from doing what is right. So even if you are the pastor of the church, you are the moderator of the church, the moment you start doing things that are not according to the scriptures, according to the constitution of the church, everybody, even a child, has the power to stand up and say, what's going on here? Because strangely, that's how the name was coined, Protestant. There are people who are always protesting something. We are protesting.
Mm-hmm.
Injustices all over the world. So you just have to open your eyes. You will see something you need to protest. And the only thing that gives you power to protest is to say, this is what justice dictates. This is what morality dictates. This is what the Holy Scripture dictates. And this is what you are doing. How dare you deviate from what is right? So I think right now, because the government, Mr. Biya cannot stand up and say, I won the election. The CPDM, the militants, they know that. They don't say they won the election. They say the institutions say we have won. That's
Yes.
a big difference. That's a big difference. If you ask even your friend or your family member who is still with that cult, I call it a cult, but they call it a political party. Ask any of your friends who is CPDM, ask them that, do you really think you won in the Northwest or Southwest region? They'll say, I don't really know, but the institutions say that we have won. So it's very easy for somebody like Barrister Nkom to stand up and challenge that and say, okay, bring the sheets. Let's look at them. Let's look at the results. And then you will see where there is election and there are representatives of the opposition. You will see that the voter turnout is about 30%, 50%, 30%, 40%, 50%, but maximum about 55% in some places. Only a very few places will get to 60%. But you come to a place like Batiba, or you go to places like Bui, or you go to Ndu, or Donga Mountain. You go to areas where people have run away because of a very, very bad political situation caused by Mr. Biya. All of a sudden, you see that the turnout is about 90%.
Because
And
there was
you
no
see,
one there to check
first,
and
the
verify.
turnout is 90%, and then they turn around, they tell you, and this 90% is voting about 90 or 80% for Paul Biya. So it is very clear. If you ask people, say, CPDM, you say you have won, show us the raw results. Let's take a look at it. They don't want to show that. They only want to tell you the Constitutional Council is the highest authority on this matter of election, and they have said that we have won. Who are we to say we have not won?
Which brings in the debate of legality and legitimacy. Professor Akih, how do you get to differentiate between legal authority that is declared by institutions and legitimate authority granted by voters? How do we differentiate that?
I think the Constitution of Cameroon is a higher authority on matters of our politics. And that constitution, at least in most area, has to be written with a language that is now modern and universal around the world. It says power belongs to the people. that the president is elected by universal suffrage, that the person who gets to win is the one with the highest number of votes. These are the principles. Any law that is made to try to change the spirit of that constitution is unconstitutional. If you make a law, the electoral code, the functioning of the Constitutional Council, and even the Constitutional Council, the duty given to the Constitutional Council is to make sure that all institutions are functioning well in accordance with the institution, with the Constitution. That's the duty. So first, you can say that by not investigating charges of fraud, the Constitutional Council is acting unconstitutionally. And then we come to the electoral code, you can declare most of the electoral code to be unconstitutional because it's designed to create the opportunity to negate the will of the people as expressed at the ballot box. Because it should be possible if the electoral code and the whole process, if they are really trying to be in the spirit of the Constitution, they will say, okay, all around Cameroon, we announced the result on the evening of the election. The results of the election were announced on October 12th.
Mm-hmm.
Now, those results we should be able to compute this result independently and arrive at the same results, with a letter. There is still a legal process where somebody can say, I am contesting the fact that at this particular polling station, somebody was standing outside and asking people to go away if they are in opposition and only allowing CPDM to come in. So you can contest that, and then you'll say, okay, let us examine this particular case and let us cancel the results that came from this polling station. So the results announced in the 12 can only be changed in the process of a legal process that brings somebody challenging and say, look, I am saying that people were prevented from voting here, and this is the reason where I want this particular results to be cancelled. So you can have results removed from that. For example, from the results put out on the 12th, it is possible through a legal process to cancel most of the results from the Northwest and Southwest region where the people have fled. And in some polling station, for example, if the results announced on the 12th, somebody doctored this result and showed that there are 400 registered voters here, but there are 420 voting members here, automatically that result is to be cancelled.
Okay, so we know that the will of the people is sovereign, as we know
Yes.
that. So it's something that, the will of the people is sovereign. But what happens when the state institutions reject the will of the people?
The people stand up and reclaim their will. They impose their will. Because at all times, the people have a right to protest. They have a right to protest. And I give you an example. I tell people, I give the example of the German Constitution. In Article 20, I think subparagraph 4 of the German Constitution, it empowers any German citizen to use all means possible to stop somebody trying to subvert the Constitution when all political means have been exhausted. That means if everything has been exhausted, and yet somebody's trying to take captive the Constitution and the sovereign will of the people, a German is allowed to use everything possible, even arms, to resist that person. This is an explicit articulation of the spirit of the popular sovereignty, that the people are the ones in charge of power. And anybody who is about to change that so that at one point, the president is chosen by an individual who is now the sovereign. Paul Biya is now the sovereign. He counts himself the sovereign and takes captive institution. So anybody who is in a position to stop that can do so, and will be justified by the spirit of the Constitution. But the key is you have to organize it as a political process where you cannot lose. Now, I've listened to my brother Ben Modo is talking about this is the time to use arms. In the spirit of that German Constitution, which is a universal spirit, I say he's articulating what is legitimate, because the
Mm-hmm.
country of Cameroon now is almost as a country attacked by Nigeria or attacked by Chad to take our territory and make us a colony. So anybody who can resist with arms can do so. But what I say to Ben Modo is that the approach he wants to go to arm is a bit too early, because we can do it in a different way. The people can do it through protest, they can do it through many other actions, civil disobedience. They have all the mechanisms that they can use to bring down this government. And the government
Okay,
knows it.
so let me ask a question. It might be a funny one, but just so we understand, this whole concept of legality and legitimacy. If someone like Paul Biya, for instance, claims legitimacy, if can he actually still claim legitimacy if a majority of Cameroonians believe that he lost the election?
No, he cannot. He cannot, because Mimi, this is a good question. The way you structure a country, for example, the military, in most countries, the military is just about 0.1 to 0.2%. The number of places, the prison capacity is about 0.1 to 0.2 or to 0.5%, depending on where you are. US is about 0.5, a little bit extreme on the high side. That means a society is structured in such a way that the place you reserve for criminals is very small. The place you reserve for force, for the use of force, is small compared to the population. This is because the country is held together by justice and the rule of law. The country is held together by the truth, justice, and the rule of law. If you have a president who has been defeated in a landslide, by a landslide in an election, trying to impose himself as president, it cannot work. It can never work. It's impossible for that single individual to organize the instruments of the state to work in such a way that his ordinary word becomes the means by which things are done in that country. Because he's totally outside outside the realm of that. He can try to use force, but this is the way he's going to use force. He's going to go after the people who are influential and who are speaking out, who are about to organize the people, because to them, the most difficult thing to actually topple them or to bring them down and subject them to the will of the people is organization. So you go after the people who are organizing, whether it's Anise Kane or Professor Abao, all of these people who are vocal at the forefront. Don't be surprised that they will come after Barrister Alice Nkom. They're going to come after her because they can see clearly that anybody, if we were in Cameroon like this, they will probably invite you. They will say, "What are you saying? You're sure? The Constitutional Council has declared the president. You must say that Paul Biya is the president because that's what the institutions say." Just saying the truth is now against them. The truth is a weapon against them. So they don't have the possibility to impose themselves long term in that. What is happening right now is that Cameroonians have given some respect to Mr. Issa Tchiroma Bakari. They don't want to be chaotic. They don't want to just go ahead and do things. They said, "We trust you to give us instructions on how to go, or at least your team to give us instructions on how to go about it." This is a meta-stable situation. It cannot last. Paul Biya cannot sail through in this particular configuration. You,
Especially this time. So,
yes.
how sustainable is a government in power that doesn't have the consent of the people, without a popular consent? How sustainable is a government like this one that we have in Cameroon?
Well, at the level at which we have, and the level those of us in the diaspora are also interacting with the community, I would say it's not very sustainable. But was still, Mr. Biya's stolen victory comes from the contribution of many people. There are so many people who have sacrificed their reputation, whether it's Philemon Young, whether it's Rosenberg Archer, whether it's Dion Gote, and all of these other people. They have explicitly said, I am going to sacrifice the character of my family, my name, my people, in order to steal an election and give to Biya. So in return, they expect a lot of compensation. Unfortunately, that compensation is limited. So even from the part of the people rejecting Biya, if you go to the question of compensation, when you see a cabinet reshuffle effectively come into play, you see many people will defect from the CPDM. Some of them will explicitly support Mr. Tchiroma Bakari as a final resort because they expect a lot more for the crime that they have committed in order to help Biya to be there. So when they become disgruntled, it becomes even difficult for that system to
Could
continue.
that be the reason why we are seeing a delay in the announcement of a new government? It's been so many days, and people were talking initially of cabinet reshufflement, but we have not seen that happening yet.
I think that is one of the reason, or if not the main reason. First, Mr. Biya is not connected enough. He doesn't remember people. He doesn't remember a lot of what is going on, but he does remember that he wants to be president, and that one I cannot say he's not involved. He is involved in telling Elecam to announce his name as the president. He's partly involved in that, but he is not aware enough of the different challenges and the different containment. And some of these people who are very angry, who would be very angry if they are not nominated as president, they have not had a personal conversation with Biya for the last 5, 7 years. They have not spoken to him directly. They only act through intermediate, that they expect this intermediate to advocate for them. There are many royal families around the country. They try to get into government. You are either a minister and you become a chief, or you're a chief, you become a minister. And there are so many royal families which are contending now for a very highly placed position in the government, right? So I think that's the reason why we cannot see a convergence to some kind of candidate, to some kind of cabinet reshuffle. But when it does happen internally, the incoherence will be there. Even within this government, we see somebody like Mr. Lawrence, or the Minister of Justice, is not in good terms with Mr. Ngongo, right? And the Prime Minister is completely out of the loop from what Mr. Ngongo is saying. And then Frank Biya is supported by Mvondo Ayolo and his own camp with Motaze. I hear there seem to be ways of trying to replace Mr. Ngongo, but Mr. Ngongo feels that he's actually the president in waiting, or if not the president, the acting president. Good luck to Mr. Frank Biya, right? Good luck to Mr. Frank Biya replacing Mr. Ngongo. Because even if that were to happen, I would not be surprised that Mr. Ngongo tries to foment a coup d'etat against whoever, whichever government is going to be set up, where he will not be the Secretary General of the presidency. So
Right.
this is tension within the system itself. It cannot work. It cannot work that way.
So we are seeing an appointment of a spokesperson for the president-elect's government, an indication that there is already a parallel government being formed. You know, are we witnessing the emergence of something like that?
Well, I don't know. I don't have any information about that. But if I were to give advice to Mr. Tchiroma, I would say that is not a good use of his energy and his time. The spokesperson is strategic, especially now that he finds himself in a foreign country, and some of the political statement that he can make in that country will be somewhat limited. And I can trust that Alice Nkom will be able to make these statements on behalf of the government, and others will be able to make that. But to say I know people were saying we want to have a parallel swearing in. We want to see him nominate ambassadors. We want to see him nominate ministers. That would make his project look a bit not very serious, because we know how a president is sworn in the Cameroon constitution. The National Assembly has to be involved, And therefore, what we need is an audit which is going to say that the true winner of this election is this person. Mr. Biya will relinquish his power. Instead of going to organize a new election, we will say we're in a suspended electoral cycle where the winner is known and the results are available. They can be shown that the winner is Mr. Tchiroma. So in that
Certainly,
case, in terms of ministers or nominating ministers, who would not be able to directly affect your higher education or affect your defense, affect your foreign policy. And there are very strict rules about international protocol. International diplomacy has particular protocol. Even if they were to name an ambassador to come to the UK government will not accept the ambassador nominated by Mr. Tchiroma. The ambassador will still be by Biya until we, the people of Cameroon, change that president. We need to say, this is not our president. The problem is
but
political
the
and
people
it's
have
within
the
Cameroon.
people have taken that decision to make that change, and it's not happened. So, I mean,
They still
that
have the
change, that
power.
victory has been stolen from them.
They still have the power to effect it. If you get 1 to 3% of the population of Cameroon down the street, 2, 3, 4, 5 days, this regime is going to fall. This regime is going to fall. We're going to get to that level. We're going to get to that point where this is going to happen. And of course, before you bring out these people, some of the things that will facilitate will be the economic problems that are happening, some road blockages that are leading to prices of things going up, and people being aware that they are no longer allowed to say the truth. The truth is that Biya did not win. And if you say the truth and you get into trouble, what are you going to teach your children? This is a very basic rule. You teach your children to say the truth. You teach your children to bear witness to the truth. So because we are not able to do that right now, when people realize that they will be ready to stand up and say, this is not our government. As I said, they don't have places to lock up 1% of Cameroonians. They don't have the military to go after 1% of Cameroonians because that military is about 0.1, 0.2%. And within that military, about half or more of them voted for Mr. Tchiroma. They are waiting for us, the people, to take the action, and they will come and join us in solidarity. Of course, there are a few who are very, very bitter and afraid of losing their opportunities. Some of them come from some particular regions or some particular cultural affiliation. Those who have killed some of our compatriots, they will have to pay for it. But once you get past that initial stage of fear, it will be over. There is no reason why Cameroonians cannot protest like it was done in Algeria. The people went out after prayers on Friday. They say, we want Bouteflika to leave. And ultimately, Mr. Bouteflika made a speech, say, I apologize if I've done anything wrong and ask God for forgiveness, and I am resigning. And then the process followed from there. So this is nothing new where the people's power, whether it's in Madagascar as recently, or it's in Nepal in a more or less violent way. But here we stick to the constitution to use peaceful protest and bring down this government is going to happen as soon as possible.
Yes, that's certainly within.
The victory
Yes,
is there, but enforcing that victory requires people to come out.
yes, certainly within the calm of Issa Tchiroma Bakari, strategies have been put in place to facilitate that. But also, we are seeing a lot of reactions, movements within the Biya government. Why do you think that the regime is showing signs of panic, as if to say that, if they won the election, why should they be panicking?
No, a thief can never sleep soundly. A thief can never sleep in peace. He knows that the person who has been robbed is going to come after them. They know that the people of Cameroon don't like them. These opinion polls that I've been conducting in the past, they reveal in very stark manner to what degree Mr. Biya is unpopular. Now, Some percentage points were raised by Cabral Libby, who is more or less a surrogate for Biya. It looks like towards the end of the campaign, he more or less redirected his support towards Biya in that way. But the regime is very, very unpopular. And and if you look around the country, whether you're looking at churches, you're looking at mosques, you're looking at this, it's palpable that the people are fed up with this government. And one can almost say that the transformation of Mr. Tchiroma from a former minister of Paul Biya to a victorious presidential candidate within a couple of months says more about Biya than about the candidates themselves. They were with Mr. Kamto, and when Mr. Kamto was blocked, they said, any small chance I have to get rid of Paul Biya, I'm going to take it. And I am seeing that Mr. Tchiroma is not only renouncing the Biya system, he's actually saying he is willing to fight for me. And that's why the people voted for him. Mm-hmm. So that election was really a clear statement that I want somebody who can get rid of Paul Biya for me. That's what the people are really saying. That's the only thing. Even if you're a strategist, if you're a communicant, if you're a communicator helping the Mr. Tchiroma's campaign, this idea should be at the back of your mind. The only thing Cameroonians are interested in is to hear you say how you're going to get rid of Paul Biya or what you need to get rid of Paul Biya, and they will help you.
Right. But we are seeing patterns, arrests, intimidations. We've seen abductions, people being kidnapped here and there, and family members still looking for their loved ones. They don't know where they are. We have also seen Human Rights Watch releasing a statement, indicating the situation, the political situation, and how tense it is, how human rights violations are ongoing in the country at the moment. So I just, the little one keeps coming in. Yeah. I'm trying to interrupt. Yes. So yes, with all these patterns that we see, arrest, intimidations, and abductions, could repression actually accelerate? I know that you've said that as they continue to arrest people, they continue to intimidate, it's going to create a scenario where people will get to understand that the only way to stop all of these from happening is to end the regime. So could all of these happenings actually accelerate the political transition that people are expecting to see? Or rather, do you think it would stop the process?
I feel sorry for the people of the CPDM because they don't have a way out. Whatever they do, they are helping us. And that should be the mindset of all of us who want change. We have to interpret every action of the CPDM as helping our project. So, yes, to them, they feel that if they accelerate the intimidation, they accelerate the arrest, people will stop talking about the election. And that's what Biya came out and said, the election is behind us. Let us focus on how to build Cameroon. So they're trying to get to a point where everybody's afraid of talking about the fraud that has just happened. And they're trying to show you that they are so invincible that you have just to accept your situation. Now, but the more they do that, as long as those of us who are at the forefront, activists and helping people to organize their power, as long as we stay engaged, the people will be willing to come out and take their destiny into their hands and end the regime. So anything they do, if they don't repress people, people will come out and overthrow the government. They repress the people, then the people will realize that, okay, enough is enough. Even those who are against coming out and asking the government to leave, they will get to a point where they say, we cannot live like this. We need to do something about it. So the regime is in a very difficult position, and the only thing they can hope is to divide the people. But they also have a problem. Mr. Tchiroma is safe, is out of the country, and then the movement is on. Even if he were not involved, the society is involved. Whether they go after Mr. Tchiroma, were they even to use something to get rid of him physically, that will still kickstart the process to kick them out. I think it is better for them to think about how can I still gain some favor from Cameroonians as I leave, because they are going to leave. So the best thing for them is to think about, how can I reduce the kind of animosity Cameroonians will feel towards me when I have lost power? Unfortunately, as the days go by, they show more proof that we should show no mercy or immunity when we finally get our power and get rid of them.
Mm. You so yes, that's interesting. So I just wanted to find out from you. There's a lot of many people are mentioning 1992 as a painful reminder. A lot of people are thinking about it and comparing it to 2025. Is there any difference? And if there is, how different is 1992 to 2025?
1992, Mr. Frundi won the election. We don't have the exact results, but I think the difference between Mr. Frundi and Paul Biya was about 10%, less than 10%. In actual vote, the difference between them is that. But here we're talking about a landslide. And also in 1992, you had a third candidate, Mr. Bello Buba, who had a substantial amount of the vote, maybe about 20% or around that. So there was somebody in between, sandwiched in between, also having to pacify to reduce the pressure. So as much as there was a lot of a challenge to the victory of Paul Biya in the southern parts of the country, the northern part was not as much involved because that's where Mr. Bello Buba had some of his support. This is not the case. The north and the south are united now in this struggle. Mr. Tchiroma is from the north, the south is strongly with him, and the south strongly disapprove of the presidency of Mr. Biya. Then you take the role of the diaspora and the role of modern communications. It was very, very difficult in those days to get news. If you were not reading Le Messager or one of those or those newspapers, it was very difficult to get news. What we are doing now was almost impossible in 1992 to get across and animate and invigorate people who believe that this process we have won half of it. We know the winner of the election, and we can use the winner of the election to coordinate our effort to ultimately bring down this government. So 2025 is nothing like 1992, and especially 2025 is taking place with full knowledge of what happened in 1992. As people were going to the 1992 presidential election, they had no imagination that Mr. Biya will go to the extent of denying to announce the winner of the election. But going into this 2025 election, that was what everybody was asking Mr. Tchiroma. We know you're going to win. We know the regime is going to steal your victory. Are you going to sit down quietly and let them steal the victory? If so, then I'm not even going to vote. But if you tell me that you're going to fight for your victory, I am going to vote for you, and I'll wait for instructions on how to defend your vote, and I will come out and I do it. And after the election, so even before Mr. Tchiroma announced protest, young people were already out protesting. It is just left for us to come back and say, how do we organize this and make sure it works very well? There are ways we can make that to succeed, because I see that's where the power of the people is going to be manifest, and this regime cannot stand it. So the victory is landslide compared to 1992. The people of 1992, they have integrated that into their thinking. The other opposition candidate, whether it's Joshua Osei or Cabral Libby, has absolutely no moral appeal to the people. They cannot stop the people from doing what they want to do. So
Right.
they are not distracting as Bello Buba was distracting in 1992, where he was the third candidate in that election. And then we in the diaspora, we have this communication, we have WhatsApp. You can send a message by the end of the day. Everybody has read it. And believe it or not, this spiritual fortification of the people of Cameroon, by just telling them what is their constitutional right, what is their legitimate right, that they are the sovereign of the country and they're the true sovereign. And right now, somebody is trying to take their sovereignty into their hands, that they have the power to articulate it. That spiritual fortification makes it possible that the people, this time around, they will be successful. The question is just for Mr. Tchiroma, do you want to be president? Do you want to help the people? Are the people in communication with you? And I think today we have that answer in Alice Nkom being put for us, the spokesperson. That's a clear communication that the people and the elected president, they are in sync. And when they deploy their power, I would just advise the people of the CPDM to pack their bags and leave. I would advise Paul and Chantal Biya to start packing because they don't have so much more time in that presidential residence.
Talking about the spokesperson, we have a video of Metro Alice Nkom that we interviewed, I think, some few weeks back when she came to Road to Etude to speak to us about what she thinks about the political situation in Cameroon. Let us listen to her. It's just like 1 minute. And then when we come back, we'll be looking at how Cameroon can actually learn from what prevailed in other countries, neighboring countries, other African countries.
Minister Paul Atanganji, whose only role has been to intimidate Cameroonians, he shut down associations, including your own, telling Cameroonians not to dare, otherwise they'll find themselves behind bars. He's simply using his mouth to escalate the situation in Cameroon. What would you tell him?
Je ne veux même pas avoir affaire à Atanganji. Parce que dans notre hiérarchie, je suis le peuple, c'est moi qui se commande. La preuve, le président de la République est venu me demander de le nommer encore président par mon vote. Et c'est moi qui ai donné au président de la République les moyens et le droit de recruter des gens pour l'aider sur cette grand chantier des droits de l'homme. Et il a donc recruté des gens comme Atanganji. Mon niveau n'est pas Atanganji. Mon niveau, c'est son patron Biya. Et Biya, c'est que c'est moi le patron, c'est moi qui l'ai nommé là. Donc c'est avec lui que je peux parler. Ce que Atanganji fait là, ça va se retourner contre son patron direct. Et j'espère que le patron direct va prendre les sanctions nécessaires pour licencier un serviteur qui ne sert pas, mais qui insulte et qui menace le patron du patron.
That's quite interesting, Barrister Alice.
That's typical Alice Nkom.
Yeah, would you want to react to that?
The people are the sovereign. She's articulating it perfectly. That's what a constitutional democracy foresees. The people are the sovereign. Candidates come and beg them for their vote and say, look, vote for me. This is my project and this is my character. After you have voted for me, I will try to implement this. And trust me, when a question comes up, I will use my best judgment with your interest in mind to do this. And one of the things they do is, I need somebody to help me with territorial administration. I will appoint this minister. In some constitution, you even require him to bring that appointed minister to the people's house, to the parliament, to undergo a series of questions, to answer a series of questions about their character and about their plan in the office. And that parliament, that Congress is able to call for the resignation of any of this. The people themselves, at all times, between elections, the people remain the sovereign. At election, their power is maximum because they can choose who to be the president. But between the election, they say, okay, I can tolerate some of these mistakes. But when you reach a certain limit, they come to the street, they tell you, I trusted you, and I trusted your character, but I've seen the opposite of it. I want you to go, or I want you to fire that person. And she is perfectly right. The people remain the sovereign. And I know that in most of these countries, especially the Francophone African countries, they have difficulty with this concept that the people remain the sovereign, even between elections. On election day, they are the greatest sovereign. You have to beg them. Even if the voter tells you, I want you to kneel down before I vote for you, a candidate will do it because that's the day the voter is the most powerful. But between the election, Even those who don't yet have the right to vote, they are part of the sovereign. Children who are not yet 20, who cannot vote in Cameroon, they are still part of the Cameroonian sovereign. And right now, they can come out. I heard somebody saying that those children were less than, they were 18 years old, they did not vote. Why were they coming out? Even a child can come out and say, I respect the Constitution that says I'm not yet ready to vote, but I expect the Constitution to be respected. If you have carried out an election and you're giving me a candidate who has not won the election, you're saying this candidate should be the president, I have the right to come to the street and say the Constitution has not been respected. The child who is 15 years old, 16 years old, 18 years old, they are free to join protests asking for Mr. Biya to go, because it is about the Constitution, which protects everybody within the Commonwealth. So,
right. So there's this word that we keep using, sovereign. Many people might be watching us without really understanding what it means. It seems like it's a big word. It's used a lot within the context of Cameroon politics now. People hear about it every day, even on this program, Road to Italy. We've talked about it so many times. But maybe some people would want you, a professor, to explain to a lay person, like the common man, what sovereign really means, so that they understand that it's not something so massive, so big. Can you help us do that, please?
Sovereign is the power, the person who has the power to make decisions about the lives of people in a particular region. The sovereign is the person who has the power to make decisions about the lives of people in a particular region. If we talk about it in more general terms, God is the absolute sovereign. He makes decisions about the universe, makes decisions about everybody else. But when we come to the society, the forces of history have shown that we should never trust one person to try to substitute God. So you either have God as the absolute sovereign who is in charge of everything, or you have all of us collected, where we say, each one of us, we may have our weaknesses, our strengths, but together we begin to approximate the way God will make a decision that goes towards justice. If you allow one person to be sovereign, like the monarchs used to be in the past, absolute monarchs, they will make judgment for everybody, you will get to a very bad situation. The United Kingdom, where you live now, they might tell you King Charles is the sovereign, King Charles is the monarch. But the trick is that in the United Kingdom, even though King Charles is the sovereign, he's not an absolute sovereign. He's a sovereign whose will is determined by the people. So each time you have an election, the people already established a party that has the majority. Within that party, the members of the party decide which of their parliamentarians should be the leading minister. Then, only then, does the King Charles, only then does King Charles invite the leader of the majority party and ask him to form a government. Now, you might say he is doing that as a sovereign, but the truth is that in most of these Northern European countries, the sovereign always agrees with the majority. So the sovereign is only a symbolic representation of the power of the people.
Okay.
If you come to if you come to a place like Cameroon, the sovereign is the person who has the power to make decisions for people in a particular place. Now, in our constitution, the principle of popular sovereignty applies. That means the person who makes the decision is the people through a process which is coordinated by the constitution.
Like the election.
The election. And the only reason, if I vote for Paul Biya, or if I vote for some other person, the only reason I'm going to accept a different candidate as the winner is if you show me transparently that, okay, 49% voted for this person, 51% voted for this person, and we have agreed in the rules that in this case, 49 here cancels 49 here, the 2% They are the reasonable people whose opinion is going to help us to develop our country. So we go with the person with the highest amount. That's how you exercise, you harness the power. That's what we mean.
Yes.
We are the sovereign, and with respect to outside authority, Cameroon is a sovereign nation. We talk of national sovereignty. We are different from Nigeria, we are different from Chad, we are different from this. But how you protect that Cameroon national sovereignty is by giving power to the people, so that whoever is going to the United Nations, is negotiating with Nigeria, is negotiating with Chad, will always say, please, my people want me to do this. My hands are tied by the people. So each time you sit down to talk with France, to talk with Chad, as a representative of Cameroon's national sovereignty, you have to do so with respect to the power of the people. But each time, even the president, some people make the mistake that once we elect the person, the president becomes the sovereign and then the people no longer have the sovereignty. That's a lie. The sovereignty always remains with the people. And the power that they give the president is very clearly defined and limited. For example, the people do not want Mr. Paul Biya to go out and play the role of a policeman, because the Cameroonian, the sovereign, when the policeman or the magistrate is arresting somebody, when the policeman is arresting somebody, he says, I arrest you in the name of the people of Cameroon. And when the magistrate is dispensing justice, he will say, in the name of the people of Cameroon, I condemn you for this crime.
Okay.
Cannot be a magistrate. Paul Biya cannot go into court and pronounce judgment, because we are the sovereign and we have not given that power of judging anybody to the president. They have only power.
Thank you so much for that explanation. It was really well understood. So can Cameroon learn from, Malawi? We know what happened in Malawi in 2019. From Kenya, we also witnessed happenings in the country in 2017, and Senegal just over 1 year ago, 2024, where the judicial and civic pressure overturned manipulated outcomes in the country.
Yes, I think if you ask the CPDM, they will tell you Cameroon, they can learn from that, but we have already won the lottery. We have blocked that possibility because the Constitutional Council is controlled by us. And that's why Mr. Tangana is going to celebrate there. The situation we have in Cameroon is slightly different. It's different in the sense that the people are able to ask Mr. Paul Biya to resign and say the election is a suspended political process. The people have elected a candidate, the results are known based on what happened on the 12th. But pronouncing that that candidate has not been done properly. So all you need to do is to count the vote properly and announce the president and swear that president in. So that needs to be done. That means if Elecam is forced to come before the Constitutional Council and present the revised results, the Constitutional Council has to announce that new president and the parliament needs to swear in that. The only way that can happen is when Mr. Biya is out of office. You have to force Mr. Biya to get out of office. And I can imagine one very key way to do that, if you bring in somebody who is doing law enforcement to say, okay, I see what is happening here. The people are asking for their will to be respected. And Mr. Biya, you need to go. So at one point, you will have to have the military play a crucial role to say that, okay, take the example of Gabon. There was an election in Gabon. We knew the winner, but Ali Bongo tried to take power. He announced himself as the winner. The military came in. Instead of saying count the votes and then get the right winner, they said, no, we are going to take power now in our hands. The people of Cameroon need to say no to any such arrangement. The only thing that counts is that we know the winner. We think the Elecam is taken hostage. The Constitutional Council is taken hostage, but they can be forced to say the right thing. For example, if the people are actually asking Biya to resign, they should also be asking the director of Elecam to resign. They should be asking the president of the Constitutional Council to resign as maximum pressure. So the point is that at all times, the people of Cameroon who are the sovereign, they can say, this is how we correct this mistake that we have here. So we have to be clear about it. And the way the Cameroonians should be clear about that now is we do not recognize the declaration by the Constitutional Council because we are the sovereign. We do not recognize the swearing in because we are the sovereign. We know who we've elected to be president, and we are going to protest and ask this person to go, and the economy will come to a standstill, things will come to a standstill. We will tell all the countries that are lending money to Cameroon, if you send another dollar to Cameroon, that's your problem. We will not pay back that money. He is not our president. He's not acting on our behalf. We need to make that very clear. That is only from
And
internal
you think that it
organization.
would change? You think that it would change anything at all? Because we see some countries, like the US, congratulating Paul Biya, and
Yeah, well, with respect, if you see my activism is based on my very strong belief in the ability of Cameroonians to govern themselves. I don't lay any emphasis on foreign countries because they are all corrupt. They're all corrupt and they're going after their interests. In the specific case of Cameroon, because Cameroon is one of two countries in Africa that do not recognize the state of Palestine, Cameroon is very closely aligned with Israel. And the foreign policy of the United States is always aligned with the foreign policy of Israel. And therefore, I never expected the United States to be a durable partner in the fight for our liberation. But the day we have our new president sworn in, Mr. Issa Tchiroma Bakari, you get another congratulation from the United States. The battle is in Cameroon. The foreign countries, I think they have made the mistake to judge that, okay, let's wait 2 weeks and let's see whether the people of Cameroon will rise up. I fully acknowledge that we have not been organized well enough to strike hard and forcefully within this first couple of weeks. But they are making a mistake to underestimate the level at which people are dissatisfied with Biya and want to contribute to make him go. That is
yes, we always say that slowly but surely. Yeah.
Even outside the framework of this election, even if the election were completely finished and Mr. Biya had disqualified all his competitors and just got himself elected like the president in Tanzania, the people who are sovereign still have the right to say, you're accountable to me, I want to fire you, I want you to resign. And the Constitution has a provision for our president resigning. You just have to create the conditions for him to make that speech, that we want you to resign. And in addition to that, you still have a charge against the Constitutional Council, because the Constitutional Council is charged by the Constitution to be able to recognize when a president is incapacitated.
Right.
Even before this election, you can make that Mr. Biya was no longer in position to serve.
Yes, so we thank you for your inputs and everything that we've discussed so far. Very insightful. But before we continue, because we are almost, coming to the end of this interesting, important discussion today, is breaking news. Barrister Alice Nkom has been appointed spokesperson for the president-elect Issa Tchiroma Bakari's government. The announcement has also been officially accepted by Barrister Alice Nkom herself on her different social media platforms. She said that it is her honor to serve the people of Cameroon and that she's going to be doing that very diligently. We'll be coming back to our statement very shortly, but also let us take our viewers to this scene that we saw in Bamenda last weekend. And when we come back, we'll be analyzing what happened.
Your Grace Andrew Akih, Archbishop of Bamenda, President of the National Episcopal Conference of Cameroon. Excellencies, dear brother bishops, the Episcopacy, His Excellency Mr. Francis Faye Yongo, National Coordinator of the CNDDR, Representative of the President of the Republic of Cameroon, His Excellency Paul Biya. The Apostolic Nuncio to Cameroon.
Sorry, I was muted. This scene, we've never seen it in our country before, even if it happened. Maybe that was before I was born. This is not just hilarious, but it's very symbolic. It's something that stands out from everything that is happening at the moment. This has been like an eye-opener for Cameroonians and even people watching from the international scene. The message is very powerful. I wanted to just find out from Professor Akih, how is silence? Because the Catholic Church Apostolic Nuncio, he's a diplomat. He's playing the role of a diplomat. But that silence, in the midst of the chaos reigning in Cameroon at the moment has brought a lot of question mark. People are asking a lot of questions as to what is happening and the role of the church. This perceived silence of religious authorities, how is it affecting the struggle for truth, for the people's will to be respected?
I'm very, very happy to see this from our brothers and sisters in the Catholic Church. I'm very happy to see this because people who know me have been critical about the relation between religion and politics. I think religion and politics, they go very closely together than people actually acknowledge. So if you come back, you ask me about the silence among the religious leaders, I will come back to the point about the people being very central to the process. Even within the church, the ordinary Christians, they can cause their leadership to align with what the people want, especially if what the people want aligns with justice and what the scripture says. And that is what is very important. So to see this coming from the Catholic Church tells you that Mr. Biya has no legitimacy. That's the first point. Mr. Biya has no legitimacy. And then to have the apostolic nuncio, not just the parish priest, not just the bishop or the archbishop, but the representative of the Bishop of Rome in that meeting to experience this from the membership. I think this is a kind of awakening that the Catholic Church would be mistaken not to take that seriously. So the people are already in a different state of mind than the church. And it is up to the church to realize that our power or our work here, it's only justified. We only get respect if the people see us to be doing things that align with the values that the Christian faith teaches, especially telling the truth. Because the truth is that Biya did not win. But as Mr. Tchiroma said, Biya put his hand on the Bible and swore that he won the election, that he's going to serve Cameroon. That is blasphemy. And the church cannot stand in the way of that. So what happens? The Christians must reinforce people like the Archbishop of Douala. The people must reinforce people like the Bishop of Bafoussam and all of these priests, or people like our brother Father Lado Ludovic, right? These are Catholics who are coming out and speak. Myself, as a Protestant, I would say two comments there. I wouldn't want to comment in depth in this. I'll comment two things. The Protestant movement started by ordinary Christians saying that the Bible says we all believers are priests. We are priests, and we are basing our conscience on the word of God more than authority. So if you look at the scripture, if you look at the way people are behaving, that Atanganji, he's building a church for the Catholic Church in the South and doing all of this thing, but he's going to steer an election. When the people will start expressing that, I am Catholic, I care about, if a Catholic Christian say, I'm Catholic, I care about my faith, I care about how my faith is projected, Mr. Atanganji does not represent me. Mr. Paul Biya, who is a former Catholic seminarian, does not represent me. Ngongo, who is a Catholic, Chantal Biya, who is a Catholic, Mvondo Ayolo, who is a Catholic, Clement Atangana, who is a Catholic, that these people do not represent me. I think you have a seismic shift. If the church can see that our Christians are against us and we have to listen to them. So the Catholic Christians have to speak, because what I just explained here about sovereignty, this is a principle which was very much developed in Protestant state. It started also partly as some new learning from this Catholic split and Protestant, where we say the priesthood of all believers, the Spirit of God reaches all ordinary believers, and they get access to God at a personal level. And they are able to see, is my bishop respecting the word of God? Is the Pope respecting the word of God? And you can even see, this is not the only thing. Christians, the Catholic Christians in Africa, they're opening their eyes that in terms of politics, I need to be independent in judging the scripture and judging the behavior of my leaders. And
would scenarios like this in church, when the gospel is ongoing, people focused on the gospel, does it tell us that the Catholic Church is risking or losing moral credibility at this critical moment in Cameroon?
From the history of Cameroon, I think the Catholic Church has always been losing credibility in the fight. For example, most of the former seminarians allied with the Catholic Church, they were against reunification. Andre Marimbida, for example, he was a former seminarian, first leader of the church. He was against. So there are many instances. And then the Catholic Church said the UPC is a communist party. Catholics should not join the UPC. But the UPC is the historical party that gave the people of Cameroon the dignity to stand up and say, we want to govern ourselves. And they were fought by France. So the Catholic Church, from my perspective, somebody outside the Catholic Church, I know that a lot more. But when I try to tell my brothers and sisters who are Catholic, they become very defensive because they feel that their faith is tied up with the church. And I dare not just go out criticizing the church. So I think this is an awakening, which is very, very pleasing for me to see, that the Catholic Christians themselves, they can feel that there is something different about what is taught in the Bible, whether it's what is about some social issues, about where the Pope stands and where the church in Africa stands. The people are beginning to assert themselves, and the church is beginning to listen. For example, recently there was a question of whether the church should take a stand on marriage principles. The Pope was slightly more progressive than the church in Africa. But because of the way the church reacted in Africa, the universal church has now moderated its language in response to that. So there's always a political play back and forth. I would like to see political play in the question of whether Paul Biya is the president of Cameroon or not. He is not the president, and nobody should be introducing him in church as the president of the head of state. If they do so, they risk being bold, as was done here.
Yes, thank you so much. I don't know if the news today, like I said earlier. Let me just read this statement from Barrister Alice Nkom. It says that today a new chapter opens for our country. The President-elect Issa Tchiroma called upon me to take on the responsibility of spokesperson of the president, the elected presidency. I accept with respect, with seriousness, and a profound sense of duty. This mission is not that of one woman alone. It belongs to the Cameroonian people, to their sovereign will and their desire to take back control of their destiny. I commit to, number one, faithfully carry out the voice of the president-elect, sharing his vision with clarity, defending the truth with consistency, serving every Cameroonian woman and man with loyalty. And it is with humility and determination that I take part in this decisive moment to support the change our people expect and deserve. The voice of the president-elect will be strong. My words will be clear. The truth will be non-negotiable. And Cameroon is entering an era of courage, responsibility, and transparency. She signed the letter saying that she is the official spokesperson of the president-elect of the Republic of Cameroon, and she is doing this for our children, for our dignity, for our future here, not elsewhere. She is the mother, she concludes, and that she loves everyone. Professor Akih, before we go, these are very strong word statements, engagements from Barrister Alice Nkom. What would be your reaction to this declaration and acceptance of her nomination?
I am very thrilled to hear that news. I'm very happy, and I can all just extend that we are very ready. We want to work with her. We want to amplify the message that she's putting out. And I can tell you from the reaction that I've gotten from people already, it's very, very positive. First, the people were asking me, is this true? I wish that this is true. I say, okay, you want this to be true. I can tell you that by all indication, it is true. And I'm also very happy about it. So the people are excited that developments are beginning to move in the right direction. And I'm very happy that she accepted that. I'm also very happy. It tells me something about Mr. Tchiroma's judgment. He can see Cameroonians, he can appreciate the vast array of capabilities that we have. Cameroonians, they are so talented. They're talented. But also, Alice Nkom is taking that with some humility. Is accepting that, oh, you've chosen me for this very important task. I have to try to do my best. It's not about me. It's about the people of Cameroon. I will put in my very best. And I hope that she will take that also to mean that she can reach out to people, get ideas from other people, get resources. Maybe she's not as technologically savvy as you, Mimi. If she asks your team
Oh,
for
she
advice.
is. But I'm here always, But
So,
she is amazing, yes.
yeah, so if she needs, even if she's technologically savvy, division of labor can make you more productive.
Yes,
Say, okay,
right.
I want to get this other thing. I'm going to reach out to Cameroonians and get the help. But I
Yes.
think this night, the people of the CPDM, they'll be trembling when they go to bed, because we are just beginning to tell you that we have observed you to see that you're not going to change. When you stole the victory, some people thought you were going to change, you'll become humbler, but you've gone after people, arresting them, terrorizing them, to show that you want to install a reign of terror, because a lie such as the one you're trying to put can only be sustained by the reign of terror. And because of that, the people now, they have reached the bottom and they're beginning to rise up, and the tide is going to take you people of the CPDM out of power. I cannot wait to see the time when Paul and Chantal Biya will pack their things out of it today.
Thank you so much, Professor Ben Akih. I know that you had a lot to do today, but you had to, come in as soon as we called. Thank you for your service, I should say so. But yes, you're doing so much and, edifying Cameroonians, bringing your know-how and, explaining some of these things for people to understand. Thank you so much for everything that you've been doing, and thank you for your time tonight. Thank you.
The pleasure is mine. I'm looking forward to you covering the inauguration, as Mr. Tchiroma has already said. You're doing also a wonderful, amazing job for the people of Cameroon, because that is for you to show the microphone to the government, show the microphone to this, talk to the CPDM people, and they will tell you we did not win, but the institution to say we have won. And you see clearly that the people are ready, they're about to win. And we look forward to you covering the inauguration, because it's going to come. The CPDM and Mr. Biya, they're out of their way. They don't yet know it, but it's going to come.
We hope it eventually comes. And yes, when I interviewed Issa Tchiroma Bakari, he told me himself that a lot of journalists will be interviewing him. And of course, MMI News will be one of those media houses to interview him on the D-Day. Thank you so much, Professor Ben Akih, and to all those who joined us, those who are supporting. I can see Etienne. I don't know how to thank you, but you're always there following, not just following, but also supporting us. I appreciate so much of your support. And we also have Mami Igwe, 2950, that's your profile. Thank you so much for your support. For those who are following us without subscribing, please subscribe also to our YouTube channel, share so that more people can be always part of this conversation and they can be notified as soon as we come on board and we publish any video. This video or this live stream, it was streaming on Rebecca Enonchong's Twitter account, our MMI News Twitter account as well, and Alice Sandrine Yamga's Twitter account. You know, we've been able to form a formidable network and partnership since the start of this process that continues and it will continue until things get to change in Cameroon. Remember, we promised from the very beginning that we're going to be part of this process and take Cameroonians through this process, and we are keeping that promise. We are going to continue to do our very best to keep Cameroonians informed, to stick together or work together to achieve some of these goals. And finally, eventually, most importantly, ensure that the people's will is respected. Thank you so much for watching us tonight. Wherever you followed us from, we so much appreciate your time, your efforts, everything that you've been doing to push that voice, our voices, our publications, wherever you are. For those who have been discouraged, it is okay to feel discouraged. For those who have been disappointed, it is still okay to feel disappointed because we are all humans. But the goal remains the same. Change is something that every Cameroonian wants. And no one can do that alone. No one can achieve that. No one can be more Cameroonian than another person. We are all Cameroonians and we want the best for the country. You are all doing your best from your respective localities, villages, regions, even in the country, wherever you are, even in the diaspora, you are doing amazingly well. Keep up with the work that you're doing wherever you are. Thank you once again and God bless you. Until we meet again, goodbye for now.